I'm gonna mute you from here, and then I'll unmute you and share you when I turn it over to you.
Okay.
Thank you to those who are on already. We're going to give everybody just a few more minutes to get on the Hangout. So just bear with us for a few minutes as we wait for others to join. Thank you. Hi, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started so that we can make good use of your time. Thank you for being on this Hangout with us tonight, and we encourage you to share this link with other people that you think might be interested in the information that we're going to share tonight. So you can share that link easily through Twitter, on your Google Plus page. You can email it out, text it out. And people still have the opportunity to join the Hangout. And we encourage you also to share this information tonight with others if you think that they would be interested. And so we want to give you a brief overview tonight of No Compromise Magazine. My name is Adair Mason. I'm the creator-in-chief of the magazine. And so I'm going to talk with you guys a little bit about what we stand for, what we're trying to accomplish. And I hope you guys can hear me okay. I'm actually out of town right now, and so I hope my connection is okay and that you can hear me. But I'm going to share some information about us, and then I'm going to turn it over to our managing editor, who's going to share with you information on our contributor process so that as potential contributors to the magazine, you can understand our process and what we're looking for. And then she'll turn it back over to me, and I'll close out and talk about a little bit about our first issue, which is going to be coming out in the fall, and when we'll start taking submissions for that. So I'm going to share my screen with you all for a second so that I can show you a document. But just to give you a brief overview, again, my name is Adair Mason. I am the creator of No Compromise Magazine. We started out as a blog called My Joshua Online, and we started in January of 2014. We launched, and over the course of about a year and a half, we accumulated about 1,000 regular visitors a week on all of our platforms, to include our blog and all of our social media platforms. And so our goal has always been to actually start a digital magazine. And so we started the blog first to introduce you guys to who we are and our perspective. And so now we're planning to launch our magazine this year. And so we're looking for great contributors who represent our brand, who want to impact and empower their generation through sharing their voice. And so what I'm going to share with you all is what we stand for, the key tenets that we are going to be covering through our publication. Okay, so I hope you guys can see this. Also, just be mindful that inside the Hangout itself, you can actually enter your questions in the Q&A. And at the end of this, we'll be going to the Q&A to answer your questions. So if you have questions, please feel free to put those in there, and we'll answer those once we cover the material. So I want to cover our key areas with you. And so I'm not going to read all this to you word for word. If we contacted you via email, or if you contacted us via email, then we probably already provided this document to you. So I'm going to give you just a brief summary. We have several key areas that we're going to be covering in our publication. And so the first one, of course, with us being a Christian, primarily a Christian magazine, we call our magazine the premier lifestyle magazine for the millennial believer. But we as a team, we are Christians, and so this is what we stand on, this is what we stand for. And so the first part of what we stand for, or what we're going to talk about through our publication, is our spirituality. We're strong believers that our spirituality is way bigger than just church, just going to church, just going to a service once or twice a week, but it's really about relationship. And when you have a real relationship with God, there's less opportunity to compromise, and there's more weaving of that relationship and your spirituality throughout your actual lifestyle, not just when you're at church, not just when you're in front of other Christians. And so that is a big, big part of our platform, is that we want to encourage our generation, our peers, to develop and establish a real relationship with God that transcends just going to church on Sunday, but that actually impacts and permeates every area of their lives. And so the first part of our platform is definitely our spirituality. We will actually have a spirituality section in our magazine, but our faith will be threaded through all of our content in the magazine. The second thing is self-expression. People have a lot of ideas and opinions about what Christians should look like, quote unquote, or what believers should look like. And if you don't understand clearly what the Word of God is saying, or understand how to interpret it, then you could misinterpret some of what the Bible is saying about our appearance. We don't believe that the color of your hair or how many tattoos you have means anything as it concerns God. Because if you love God, if you're serving him with your whole heart, if you're dedicated to him, then the color of your hair or how many piercings you have in your ear or things that you use to personally express yourself, then those things don't make you less holy. They don't make you less of a Christian. And so through our publication, we are encouraging people to embrace their beauty, embrace their bodies, embrace the ability to express yourself through your dress. And of course, we are proponents for doing so in modesty, with the right attitude, having a beautiful appearance from the inside first and then out. And so this is another one of the things that we will discuss. One of the sections in our magazine is beauty, wellness, and fashion. And so we'll discuss beauty, we'll discuss skincare, makeup, we'll discuss fashion, and we'll also discuss total wellness and fitness. And so this is something you can expect to see in our publication or as a contributor to actually contribute to that section. The third thing, love and relationships, is another section of our magazine. We will not just be talking about romantic love in our magazine, but we'll also be talking about love between each other in all types of relationships. So family, friendships, dating, marriage, all of those things, any type of relationship that we have. A lot of publications that we see today really focus on the romantic love and a little less on how we just have good relationships with other people around us. It could be our coworkers. It could just be with people that we meet at the grocery store. But a lot of times we don't see that focus on relationships as a whole. And so in this publication, in No Compromise magazine, you can expect to see information about love and relationships, not just in the romantic sense. And also, we know that in our generation, that single parenting and things like that have risen. And so a lot of us grew up in single parent homes, or we grew up in broken homes. And so we're not just going to talk about the great side of relationships, but we're also going to talk about how do we repair and how do we fix those broken relationships that we've had in our lives, especially those that we've had no control over. And so we'll be addressing all of that, the good and the bad, in No Compromise magazine. The fourth thing is social responsibility. Social responsibility is huge. We know that today we see a lot of churches and a lot of groups trying to draw people in, but we don't see a lot of people actually being intentional about fulfilling the Great Commission. Jesus told us in Matthew 28:19-20 that we're supposed to go and make disciples. The Bible also says that if we lift God up, that he would do the drawing. And so we want to focus on social responsibility and how we make an impact in our communities around the world. We should have an actionable faith. That's something that we truly believe in. And we believe that through our social acts and through community service, that we actually do represent Christ in a real and a practical way by meeting the needs of others, by being active in the community, by doing outreach, not just when our churches are doing programs or back to school drives, but making social responsibility and community service a part of our lives, a part of who we are, is definitely something that we stand on. The next thing is success and prosperity. In our magazine, you'll find a section about career, entrepreneurship, and money, where we'll talk about just being good stewards of whatever we have, whether it's a career, our money, our visions, our ideas. We know that it's so important to be good stewards of what we have in our hands. A lot of people misconstrue the principle of money being the root of evil, but the Bible says the love of money is the root of evil. And so we'll talk about having the right attitude towards success, prosperity, money, business, and career, and how all those things also relate to our spirituality. Of course, we know that the Bible also says in Matthew 6:33 that we're supposed to seek first the kingdom. And we find, like never before in our generation, that people are striving to create their own brands, to create and push out product after product or things of that nature. And there's so much information overload at this point in time. And so we're going to talk about in this section, how do we strive after excellence? How are we successful? How do we be good stewards, but doing so in the context of seeking first the kingdom? And then last, purpose. Purpose is another thing that we stand strongly on. While there won't specifically be a section in our magazine on purpose, you'll find that in our magazine that we'll talk a lot about identity, about knowing who we are, about realizing that we have potential, and about breaking out of the box. These days, there's so many ways to do things, and there's so many ways to get information out, and there's so many ways to accomplish your goals. And so we're finding in our generation, and there may be some of you that are on tonight that have left the traditional 9-to-5, that long to do something bigger and better, because God has put something inside of you that you realize needs to come out. And so our magazine will really also focus and hone in on the individual, our identity, being who we're called to be, tapping into that, and not compromising because we're afraid to step outside of the norm or outside the traditional structure. So those are some of the key areas that our magazine will focus on. Those are some of the key things you can expect to see discussed in our publication. And so at the end of this document, I just have a little summary for you guys, and I do want to read this for you. It says, when you stop for the homeless man instead of riding past him, you may find that you enjoy the feeling that giving produces. When you love your enemies, you will discover your ability to forgive and cover over offense. When you seek the kingdom first, you find that wealth and success seek you out. When you have to make a hard decision that you've been convicted to make, you discover that you prefer God's approval over man's. Every opportunity to compromise is an equal opportunity to show who you really are. It is our prayer that No Compromise magazine will be the mirror to who we are and who we desire to be, that we will challenge our peers, push them, encourage them, and work alongside them to be the generation of influencers, world changers, and game changers that we are called to be. And so we are confident that our peers are going to find that No Compromise is going to be an amazing gathering place for who we are. It's going to have a bold perspective. Sometimes what we will discuss will be controversial. A lot of times when you hear people say they're creating Christian platforms or groups or things of that nature, they work within the context of what's already being done. But we're also going to challenge what's being done. We're going to challenge what people say is right. We're going to challenge what people say is the way that we have to act, that we have to be. And so even if in our challenging, we find that we are in conflict with how people currently do things, what we will always ensure is that we are not in conflict with the Word of God. And so there are many ways to accomplish things. God gives us the grace to carry out things in our own way, but we want to make sure that we help our peers and align them to the Word of God, not just help them align with tradition, not just align them with what always has been done a certain way, but to really think intentionally for ourselves, to really try to serve God with intention, to really try to apply the Bible to our lives in a practical way. And so although this magazine, from page to page, every page won't have a scripture, every page won't, as sometimes as I say, just throw Jesus in your face, the way that we talk about these different areas of our lives, the way that we approach practical application of the Word of God, all of those things are going to help us to build a real relationship with God that's built on not tradition, not on what our grandparents or our parents did, or not just what our pastor says, but that's really based on a true relationship with God. And so that is our hope, that we will be able to provide this through our publication. So that's a little bit about us and a little bit about what we stand for. Again, if you have questions, make sure you put those in the Q&A. I'm going to turn it over now to our managing editor, Kenita Doss, and she's going to share with you guys more information about the contributor process. She's also going to, we'll also answer any questions that you might have about that after she finishes presenting her information. So Kenita, I will turn the floor over to you.
Okay, sorry about that. I hope everyone can hear me now. I think I was still on mute. Welcome. I'm glad you were able to join in on our session tonight. Like Darren mentioned, I'm Kenita Doss. I am the managing editor of No Compromise magazine. I'm going to walk through the process of our guidelines for contributor writers to submit articles for the magazine. I also put together a brief PowerPoint presentation to go through, so I'm just going to share my screen and bring that up really quickly. So bear with me for a minute. All right. So here's the presentation. Like I mentioned, my name is Kanita Doss, and I'm the managing editor for No Compromise magazine. Before I get started into the presentation, I want to make sure that everyone was able to register for tonight's session. If you have not done that, please take a moment, either now or after the session is over, just to go to the link that's listed in the presentation. The reason for this is because we would like to keep your contact information. That way we can keep you up to date on anything that we have going on or communication for this process, if you are willing to be a contributor writer. So like Adair mentioned, our magazine is divided into different sections and columns. She briefly went over that, so I'm just gonna go over it a little bit more, what we're expecting and what you can actually pitch for. So we're looking for millennial believers who are willing to share their insights and experiences to motivate, inspire, and impact our generation. We are also looking for writers outside of our target market. Those who have a voice and a heart to speak to millennials are more than welcome to do so. Most of our columns and small stories are in range from 500 to 750 words. But if the story is longer and it's really compelling, we may make slight exceptions. So I'm going to go through each of the sections. Like I said, Adair did mention briefly what these sections are. I'm just going to go over them again so everyone knows. So we have the construction zone, which is what our section is titled for our spirituality section. This discusses topics related to enhancing our spiritual lives and relationships with God. Topics may include biblical interpretation as well as church culture. The section that we're calling Love and Relationships is called The Court. And this discusses all types of love and relationships, not just dating and marriage, but also friendships, family relationships, parent and child relationships, any relationships there is to talk about. Our next section, we titled it ENT, which stands for Entertainment, Navigation, and Travel. This will be our section where we discuss music, movies, and any other entertainment options and topics. This mostly will highlight ways to navigate through various cities for wholesome entertainment options, as well as any travel tips, particular destination locations that you are willing to travel to, and much more. The next section is called Image, which is our beauty, fashion, and wellness section. This will focus on how we present ourselves and care for our vessel from the inside out. This will cover both men and women beauty and tie back to our faith and freedom of self-expression and our standards. So this will cover product reviews, hair and skin care techniques, styling, fitness, anything will be covered in this particular section. Also, as I'm going through the presentation, please, if you have any questions, please put them in our Q&A section. We'll be sure to address those at the end of the session. Our next topic is our social responsibility section, which is called Represent. This will highlight the pivotal areas of social responsibility, bringing light to awesome organization initiatives, and also candidly discussing social issues such as poverty, racism, and service. This was focused on us representing Christ through our love for mankind, evidenced through action. Our last two main sections are called Steward and Cornered. Steward is our success and prosperity section. This will cover career, business, money, and entrepreneurship. This will give you tips, advice, trends, and statistics may be covered in an effort to help readers be great stewards of their time, business, job, and finances. And our corner section is just a one-page feature that shines the spotlight on a rising star influencer. And that could be a number of people out there. So this just gives them a chance to be highlighted in our magazine. We also cover feature stories, and these are mostly long-form Christian writing. This is a long, typically in length, 750 to 1,000 words. This can be longer, like I said, exceptions can be made. But this is mostly detailing opinion, observation, or the state of a social construct, kingdom, or church issue, or any other relevant happening that impacts Christian millennials. So, we also have special sections in assorted stories. These are stories that doesn't fit in any of the above mentioned topics that we have, but these can also be submitted, and they can be these can include like interviews or features of notable people or organizations. So let me go through a little bit more about the whole submission process and what are we expecting from this. So you can submit via email to me. My email is listed. It's Kenita, KENITA, at nocompromisemag, all one word, .com, with the subject line story query. So we're expecting when you submit publication in our magazine that you provide a brief summary describing the idea or the story article that you want to have submitted. It gives us about approximate length of how long the story will be. Also, when you submit, we're also looking that you provide any photos or illustrations that you would like to include with your story, and a projected completion date. We will not accept any queries over the phone. Only inquiries that we will accept is through email. So make sure that you submit your story through the email that's listed here. When you submit your query, make sure that you include the attachments as a Microsoft Word attachment. We would also like for you to submit your name, photo, and a brief bio, so we can have that information to publish on our website and to document the current month's contributors. So we would like to make sure that we give you recognition if you're submitting as a contributor writer. Also, a thing to note, do not send any unsolicited material by postal service, especially original copies of your photos, slides, illustrations, anything of that nature. We are not responsible for any other material, so we wouldn't recommend that you not send that. We also would like to know, if you submit an article that has been previously published in another media, whether it be magazine, online, or anything like that, please let us know when that has been published or if it's in the pipeline to be published. Just a thing to note that we're in the process of rolling submissions starting, I believe, in March. We're taking rolling submissions. So we're going to be receiving a lot of queries and stories. So just be mindful that through the process that we'll constantly keep communication with you to let you know that we received your story, where it is in the process, if it's being submitted or for publication or not. So in the case where it's not submitted in our magazine, we also have a blog that's online. So you will be informed that even though your story may not be published in the magazine, it could be featured on our blog. So that's another option there as well. Like I mentioned, we will begin taking rolling submissions beginning in March. The deadline to submit a story for our first issue magazine is April 4th. Adair is going to speak a little later about what that first magazine issue will entail as far as the theme and the information that we're seeking to have submitted for that content. When you submit your article via email, we also would like you to submit your photographs, whether that be illustrations or actual photography. The process for that is to include a high resolution digital image. Excuse me. Individual photographs or portfolios should not be sent via email unless we request them. We are not responsible for the damages to any unsolicited negatives or slides or photographs that you send. We would like everything just to be included as a digital image once you submit everything via email. So I'm going to talk about our editing process just a little bit. So writers must ensure that they send edited and revised versions of their story electronically if requested. No compromise. Reserve the right to edit all stories for length, grammar, content, style, and tone of voice. The writer may be contacted if significant changes are made in order to preserve the integrity of the writer's work. All stories submitted will be confirmed by email from me, the managing editor, and writers receive communication that their story is chosen for publication. So we will be in contact to let you know that we received your story, that we read through it, and we will confirm via email if you were chosen to be published in the month's magazine. Fact checking and sources. Before submitting any story, we ensure that you check all your facts and statements claimed in that story. We would like that to ensure that the correct spelling of all proper names, places, foreign spellings, and any appropriate way to denote such are correctly illustrated in the article. Submit contact names, phone numbers, and any email addresses to us so we can also fact check the story and confirm opinions and statements. Be prepared in any case if we call any facts or sources into question, because if we are unable to verify that, we will not publish the article. So make sure that you do your due diligence and make sure that all of your sources are correct and the statements that you're presenting in your article are true statements. For publication, circumstances may arise where we're assigned a story may be held over for a future issue. If that's the case, I will notify you the date of the publication of your article if it were to change. We reserve the right not to publish any article. And if a story has already been published or is scheduled to be published, we would like to know that. Like I mentioned, if you're submitting an article that's going to be published, we would like to know that so we can have that information. Or if we're the first to publish your article, we would like to know if your article is going to be featured in another magazine, because we would like to have at least 6 months before your article appearing in another publication or location, unless our creator-in-chief denotes otherwise. We also require a reprint note that documents that the story was first appeared in our magazine, No Compromise magazine. So with that kind of gives a brief overview of the process, our contributor guidelines, and the process of submitting your stories, content.
Okay, thank you, Kenita, for covering that process. So we've talked to you guys about our magazine, and we've talked to you also about our contributor process. And so I haven't seen any questions posted yet, so I'm assuming that you guys are tracking along with us. Let me just talk a little bit first about our first issue. Our first issue is planned for August of this year. Kenita mentioned in her presentation that the deadline for the first submission would be early in April. I will tell you that we're running just a couple of weeks behind on getting a couple of things set up, so we'll probably extend that out to about mid-April. So in general, we will post or make available to you the information about the coming issue at least 6 weeks before, and so you'll still have 6 weeks before the first submission. You may be thinking, well, it's coming out in August. April is pretty early, but the content is just the starting point. There are so many things that have to happen after that. As Kenita mentioned, the fact checking, the editing, and all those things that come along with actually putting together the entire publication. So in general, content will be due probably 3 to 4 months prior to us actually publishing that particular issue. Our first issue that's coming out in August is called Person of Interest. And in this issue, we're basically spotlighting and highlighting different people in our organization who are doing amazing things across all the categories of our magazine. So across relationships, across business, career, entrepreneurship, social responsibility, in the spiritual and church arena, and all of those things. And so the information that we will provide to you will clearly lay out what we're looking for, whether we're looking for interviews for a particular article, whether we're looking for narrative, and etc. And so you'll have all the information that you need to go out and to develop a great story to submit for publication. We will always also try to give you information about the coming issues, at least 2 to 3 issues in advance. I can tell you that in probably by April, you would have all of the information for the issues for almost the remainder of the year, if not the remainder of the year of 2016. And so we'll always keep that information flowing to you guys really early, because we want to take submissions on a rolling basis. And so we don't want to take submissions just in time for issues, but we want you to be able to contribute to those and to provide information for those in advance. Life happens sometimes, so you may find there's a particular deadline for an issue, and you may want to get that turned in really early. That also perhaps gives you a better guarantee that your story would be produced if we get yours further in advance, and we already can verify that it's an accurate story, that it is something that's really engaging and interesting for our audience that we want to go ahead and publish. And so early is always going to be better. It also gives us more time to collaborate with you to make sure that we have all the things that Kenita mentioned, quality photos, the right editing, checking the facts and the sources to make sure that what we publish is at its best. So our first issue will be a little different because we are highlighting different people in our generation. And so you'll receive some slightly different guidelines on how to select those persons for your article. We've laid out criteria for doing that you can use to evaluate who you'll choose to write your story on. And so again, all that information will be laid out for you. You can also expect in the coming weeks to see an expanded website from us. And we encourage you, if you have not watched our promo video, which gives you a lot of insight into our perspective and what we're about, please go to www.nocompromisemag.com and you can watch that promo video to see more about us. So that's our first issue. That's information about us, information about our contributor process. And so I'm going to check the Q&A just to see if we've had any questions submitted. Okay, so I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm guessing that you guys have been tracking with us along the way. If you do have questions for us that you find that you have after this session is over, Kenita included her information for you in her presentation. Also, the Eventbrite registration, the confirmation that you got, the reply email address will go to Kenita. And so if you want to reply to that, I have had a couple of people contact me via text or email and ask for the presentation after this. And so we'll make sure that we get the PowerPoint presentation out to you so that you're clear on all the guidelines. And so if you find that you have questions about the process moving forward, Kenita is going to be your point of contact for any questions about the process or about how to submit articles and things of that nature. Please make sure that you're also following us on social media, on Twitter and on Instagram. We're at No Compromise Mag, and we're also on Periscope. And we just thank you guys for your interest in our platform. We're a small team that's starting up and that's getting off the ground and running, and so we're definitely looking for great people to contribute content. Also, if you find that you would like to be a little more than just a contributor on an occasional basis, and you think you might want to be an actual regular member of our team, you can contact me directly. My email address is Adaire, that's spelled ADYRE, at nocompromisemag.com, and I'll actually type that into the chat session on the chat screen really quick so that you can make sure that you have that correctly. So you can contact me directly if you would like to know more information about the positions that we have available on our team, and I can send you that information. And so we just thank you guys for being on. Since I don't see any questions posted in the Q&A, we thank you guys for being on. We thank you in advance for sharing this information with your friends, with other people that you think that might be interested in our platform. If you need any more information about us, again, contact us for more information. I don't think that we mentioned it, and so I want to mention it briefly before we jump off, that when we said that we're targeting millennials as our audience, those are people born since the year of 1981. And so that if you're not clear on the age range of millennials. And so as Kenita mentioned, we're looking primarily for people who fall in our age range, but also those who feel like they are called to influence this millennial generation and feel like they have something to say and to contribute. We definitely welcome you to submit articles for publication as well. So thank you guys for being on. If you have questions, again, feel free to contact us directly, and we'll also make sure that we get the presentation out to all of those that register for the session. And again, we encourage you to share this information with your friends, to follow us on social media, and we look forward to working with you guys in the coming months as we prepare to launch No Compromise Magazine. Thank you all and have a great night.